हरे कृष्णा। आज हमारा परम सौभाग्य है हिज होलीनेस दयानंद स्वामी महाराज हमारे सामने उपस्थित हैं। सो वी वुड लाइक टू वेलकम महाराज फ्रॉम आवर हार्ट by loudly chanting Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. His Holiness Dayananda Swami Maharaj ki, Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki.
You know the one. Two harmoniums. This one is like. Oh, Krishna. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Radha Madhava Gopi Janna Vallabha Girivaradhari Janna Vallabha Girivaradhari Yasodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yasodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Nati Ravanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Sodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Sodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna, Hare Krishna. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki, Santarad Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita ki jai, Gaura Premananda. So reading from Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, and this is Adilila, chapter 9 here, texts 16 to 25. Which verse is that one? 16. So usually we write down the last verse, then we all recite that together. So we'll recite this together, and then I'll recite the rest separately on my own. Okay? Understand? Okay. Maya Mula Paramanda Puri Mahadira Maya Mula Paramananda Puri Mahadira Ashtadike Ashtamula Vriksha Kailastira Ashtadike Ashtamula Vriksha Kailastira Madhyamula Paramananda Puri Mahadira Ashtadike Ashtamula Vriksha Kailastira Madhyamula Paramananda Puri Mahadira Ashtadike Ashtamula Vriksha Kailastira Anybody like this one? Madhyamula Paramananda Puri Mahadira Mataji's. Madhyamula Paramananda Puri Mahadira Ashtadike Ashtamula Vriksha Kailastira. Okay, so we'll do the word for the last one. So this is translation. With the sober and grave Paramananda Puri as a central root and other 8 roots in the 8 directions, the tree of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu stood firmly. Skandera upare bahus shaka upajila upare. No, I'll discuss it. Upare uparis shaka asankhya haila. From the trunk grew many branches, and above them innumerable others. Visha shaka kari eka mandal maha shaka shaila brahmananda sakal. Thus the branches of the Chaitanya tree formed a cluster or society with great branches covering all the universe. Purport. Our International Society for Krishna Consciousness is one of the branches of the Chaitanya tree. Eka shakate upashaka sata shata yata upajila shaka kegani bekata. From each branch grew many hundreds of sub-branches. No one can count how many branches thus grew. Mukya shaka gane ranama aganana ageta karibe shuna vikshera ratnana. I shall try to name the foremost of the innumerable branches. Please hear the description of the Chaitanya tree. Vrikshera upare shaka haila dui skanda eka advaita nama ara nityananda. At the top of the tree, the trunk branched into two. One trunk was named Sri Advaita Prabhu and the other Sri Nityananda Prabhu. Se dui skande bahu shaka upajila tara upashaka gane jagat shaila. From these two trunks grew many branches and sub-branches that covered the entire world. Bada shaka upashaka tara upashaka yata upajila tara kekari leka. These branches and sub-branches and their sub-branches became so numerous that no one can actually write about them. Shishya prashishya ara upashishya gana jagad vyapayila tara nahika ganana. Thus the disciples and grand disciples and their admirers spread throughout the entire world, and it is not possible to enumerate them. So this is a 125. Well, I didn't realise you could see every verse on there, otherwise. Anyway, we can do this together if you want. We've spent enough time actually, we'll just come. Odumbara brikshayena pale sarva ange e mata bhakti brikshe sarvatra pale lage. As a big fig tree bears fruits all over its body, each part of the tree of devotional service bore fruit. In response, please. As a big fig tree bears fruits all over its body, each part of the tree of devotional service bore fruits. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. This tree of devotional service is not of this material world. It grows in the spiritual world, where there is no distinction between one part of the body and another. It is something like a tree of sugar. For whichever part of such a tree one tastes, it is always sweet. The tree of bhakti has varieties of branches, leaves and fruits, but they are all meant for the service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. There are 9 different processes of devotional service: Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam, Padasevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakyam, Atmanivedanam. But all of them are meant only for the service of the Supreme Lord. Therefore, whether one hears, chants, remembers or worships, his activities will yield the same result. Which one of these processes will be the most suitable for a particular devotee depends on his taste. Om Gantimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Jena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Sapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yuta Padakamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakam Vitamscha. He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gorangi Radhe Vrindavanishvari Vishavanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Panchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Vayevacha Patitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadha Sri Vasadi Gaura Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Actually, there's a place in Navadvip called Surabi Kunj, and this is where the Sankirtan movement started. Because this is talking about the spreading of the Sankirtan movement, and Lord Nishinanda is called a broker. Broker means one who sells things. And he's selling the holy name for the price of our faith. Devotional service is a process of gradually developing faith. And Lord Nishinanda is looking for the faith of the devotee, and he's giving the, just like we pay so many rupees for something. So faith is what the currency is, and Lord Nishinanda is happily giving the result. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur says that actually I'm the sweeper. So he says, and I also distribute this commodity, and I take my commission. So, what's our commission? Our commission is that, our devotion grows. When we give Krishna consciousness, it's not like we give something away, we actually increase our devotion. So this is the process that this is speaking about, that we receive and we give. And this is real devotee, one who accepts the process and then gives it to others. It means, because a devotee is paradukkha dukhi, he has compassion for all living entities. And therefore the biggest thing we can do to help people is to give them the holy name of the Lord, give them a process of devotional service. And so we're not actually considered, we're a devotee, it's a bhajan, we're a ghosty and a bhajananandi, sorry. But it says a real devotee is paradukkha dukhi, he'll share the holy name. So this is our business, to share the holy name, to share the process of devotional service, just like Nishinanda did. He started in Surabi Kunj, and now it's going on. But here it's talking about the main branch is Lord Chaitanya, and Advaita or Nityananda and Nityananda are both the sub-branches, the two branches. At the top it says it splits into two. So it's speaking about disciplic succession. And so, there's 4 sampradayas. The Kumara Sampradaya, the Sri Sampradaya, Madhava Sampradaya, Brahma Madhava Sampradaya, and the, what's the other one? Kumara, did I mention Kumara? Rudra Sampradaya, yeah, Lord Shiva. And so actually, all these, the Sampradaya as its leader, or the 4 Kumaras are the leaders, Lord Brahma is the leader, or Lord Shiva is the leader, Lakshmi is the leader of all these Sampradayas, but they also have a present-day Acharya, who actually rejuvenates and renovates the actual process for the modern day. They call modern day Acharyas. So in each Sampradaya they have modern day Acharyas. And it's these modern day Acharyas like Nimbaka, Madhavacharya, Ramanujacharya, and Vishnu Swami, they all actually visited Navadvip. And we, 500 years ago, Lord Chaitanya appeared. And these were his manifested pastimes. And but his pastimes are going on eternally in Navadvip. And when we do the Navadvip Mandal Parikram, we hear about some of the pastimes. And so included in these pastimes is the four Sampradaya Acharyas, how they came to Navadvip and they met Lord Chaitanya, and he gave them specific instructions of what they had to teach. And they wanted to teach everything, the devotees paradukha dukhi, and they were capable of doing that. But he told them to, just teach this amount so that eventually we'll come to the point. So I'll appear and I'll give the final conclusion on devotional service. So we can see from Lord Chaitanya's example and the Acharya example that, and what this particular section of the Chaitanya Charitamrita is speaking about, is that the disciplic succession doesn't come to an end and we have one all-encompassing founder Acharya who, initiates everybody and everybody else takes. It's just explained how, and Prabhupada said the same, that, all of my disciples should become spiritual masters. And so, this is proof that the disciplic succession, even recently, it's been explained how it carries on, and how it's Chaitanya Charitamrita saying it carries on. And although in each Sampradaya, some of them, like Madhava Sampradaya, Madhavacharya is the one who initiates everybody. But, he arranges it so that he has sub-disciples and sub-disciples who are actually teaching the same principle to everybody. So the same process is there, is that initiation means we initiate people into knowledge. And this is always the case, that we need a person who's present to teach us that. It's not possible to understand any science without a personal touch. So this is the first thing I wanted to Hare Krishna. And so this movement, it's unusual. It's very unusual, because Lord Chaitanya was the inspiration and the more than a self-effulgent Acharya, he's a Supreme Personality of Godhead. And he taught the process of devotional service personally. But then Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Thakur Maharaj, he was the self-effulgent Acharya in our disciplic succession. And he said we require a body of devotees to take charge of the movement. And Srila Prabhupada was the one who actually did that. And when he formed the ISKCON movement, he formed a governing body commission, so that we have a body of devotees which is stronger. On our own, we may actually fall at any moment. We're not, unless we're actually really, really powerful Acharya devotee like Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Thakur and Srila Prabhupada. So we have a bit of a dilemma sometimes, that we have this GBC and we have the initiating gurus. So this is our work in this particular movement, is to make the two compatible. And there's different ideas, and some people actually go away from the movement because they think this is actually the way. Some go this, but actually the real Prabhupada said we should cooperate. And so this is our cooperation. Our cooperation is to keep this disciplic succession going by virtue of cooperation between these different diverse, or apparently diverse principles. And so the GBC have to work on one paper called the Parallel Lines of Authority. I don't know if anybody's heard that. Parallel lines of authority means that we have two systems of initiating gurus, and we have the GBC. The gurus are actually under the GBC, but, you know, for all intents and purposes, the managerial structure is, they are giving spiritual guidance as well as managerial guidance. And so, you know, there has to be good cooperation between the managerial or the, you know, managerial leaders, and they are spiritual as well, and the guru. And this is where the movement will be successful when that happens, when the guru and the managerial leaders are actually in cooperation and the disciples are instructed accordingly, the same message. And so that's where the real cooperation is required, and it's not easy. We can't go into the details now, but you know, anyway. So that's one point I wanted to mention. So I think I'm all Adilila will understand that. So then he talks about, I was going to talk about levels of bhakti. He's talking about the fruits of devotional service. We're passing on the fruits. And in devotional service we have different devotees at different levels. And so we're able to pass on different devotees who, you know, we want to enjoy the fruits in the beginning. That's a process. In the beginning we're weaned into devotional service. We've had these different levels, Sakam Karma Yoga, Nishkam Karma Yoga, and eventually Kevala Bhakti. And so we all have the individual work to do on ourselves. That work is purifying the heart. And then we can come to the point of pure devotional service, because when we come to the point of pure devotional service, then cooperation becomes actually really manageable. While ever we're actually still on the lower stages, then this is when the difficulty. So we need leaders who are actually able to come to that platform, on the pure platform. And this platform is reached by this hearing process. He said 9 processes of devotional service. Is that right? But so it says that we can get success from all. We can get success from all these different 9 processes, any one of them. There we are. But you know, Shravanam is the beginning. Without Shravanam, it's not really possible to take up devotional service. By hearing, we understand the process, and then we can put it into practice. So Shravanam is the beginning, and this is in the Srimad Bhagavatam. It explains the whole process of devotional service in the 2nd chapter. Especially, it starts with verse 16, which talks about service. In order to be able to, you know, hear about devotional service, to get a taste for hearing, it means we have to purify the heart. It's not everybody who can hear. Purify the heart by service. This is why we engage people in different ways. Shushato Shraddhadanasya Vasudeva Kataruchi. We get that Kataruchi from that service. The service to the Mahat. Who's the Mahat in our movement? It's Srila Prabhupada. And we're all his representatives. And by that service we get a taste. Srinvatam Svakata Krishna. Punya Shravana Kirtana. Ridantaksto Yabhadrani Vidanoti Suritsatam. Is it going up there? These verses? Yeah? Is it really? Better be careful what I say. I'm being monitored. Wait a minute, look at what. Shrinvatam. So, when we, hearing means serious hearing, different levels of hearing. Hearing in the mind, and then actually putting it into practice in the mind. This is actually real hearing. How does it apply to me? I know one devotee, he's a very educated devotee. He's the head of the school preaching in England. And he said when he first joined the movement, he says every time I went to Bhagavatam class, he says the speaker was speaking about me. And that's what we should think. Not like it's about somebody else, We should think this is for me. And actually it is. We apply it to ourselves, and then we actually get a taste for hearing. Because we can putting it into practice means we become enlivened. So, and by regular hearing, astaprayeshu, abhadreshu, then nearly everything's purified away except we have a material body. And while ever we've got a material body, there'll be some effects of the modes of nature. So it's we're almost completely purified by hearing. The lower modes we come to the mode of goodness actually. And these lower modes which are causing so many problems. In the mode of goodness we're actually well situated. We're pretty much freed from all sinful activity. But then, eventually when these lower modes are purified away, then we become enlivened. It's only the lower modes which are causing so many discrepancies in our mind, in our devotional service, and disagreements. These modes of passion and ignorance. Passion means for me, and ignorance means, we don't hardly engage in anything. We just see everything the wrong way. So with these two qualities, it's difficult for a movement to actually push on. So this mode of goodness is vital. And then from the mode of goodness, evam prasanna manaso, the mind becomes enlivened and peaceful. Evam prasanna manaso, bhagavat bhakti yogata, bhagavat tattva vijnanam, mukta sangasya jayate. Then real liberation comes. And what's real liberation? Real liberation means devotional service. All of the kinds of liberation we hear about in the Bhagavatam, because it talks about liberation at different levels. But it's vimukta manina, yanya vindaksha, vimukta maninas, tvayasta abhi sudha buddhaya, arura krishchena padam tvaya padanti adya yasmat, nadrita yasmat angraya. So automatically, I've often thought about this. How can you be liberated? By negating everything. That means you become inert. You don't do anything. And so this is why we have to do something. It means the mind so controlled and so fixed in the impersonal conception, that for that time we're actually liberated. We're free from material inebrieties. But as soon as the mind becomes uncontrolled, immediately we're caught and we fall from that platform. It's a matter of meditation on the impersonal. Neti, neti, neti. What's that? What's that verse in the Brahma Samhita? Anyway, I can't remember. Yashya prabha prabhavato jagananda koti kotesha sesha vijadati vibhuti vinam rukta brahma nishlamananta nasesha bhuti. No, that's not it. That's not it. It's the one where it says that, the impersonalists, they meditate for uncountable lifetimes to try and find the absolute truth. And the yogis, they drill the breathing, Prabhupada says. They control the breathing to control the mind and focus. Not possible. And so we're talking about Shravanam. Shravanam nourishes other 8 processes of bhakti. You know, it says we can perform these processes independently. Any one process can give us pure devotional service. If we think about that, we have to be on the Raga Bhakti platform, which, you know, devotional service has to spring from the heart, and it's just so natural that we just do it. We get such a strong taste that we're not going to do anything else. And if we perform devotional service on the other 8 processes, then there's no problem. But while ever we're on the process of an impure heart, then we're going to be affected by the impurities. And those impurities, if we're not hearing, if we're not keeping, you know, fresh in the understanding of devotional service, any moment they can take us away. So hearing is so important. I've seen it actually. Devotees who don't hear regularly enough, they start to speak in an unusual way. And after some time, you know, there's a good chance they won't maintain the devotional service. And they start to find faults. I remember one devotee actually, this is not about fault finding, but I was in one place and in Ireland, and you know, he's a long time devotee, probably been in the movement since 1984 or something like that. And I was speaking to him, and he said, yeah, he says, for the first 17 years, he says, I like associating with devotees, I like doing service, I like taking prasadam, and, you know, he says, so that just kept me going all this time. And so that was like 40 years. And he said, but for the first 17 years, I didn't even read Bhagavad Gita. And I thought, how is that possible? And I said, did you have any problems? He said, oh yes. He left the movement for a long time, and then he came back. He says, now I'm reading like anything. So it's really important. And, you know, next to the instruction it explains this point, that one who's got a taste for hearing, he's got a big advantage over anybody else, especially Srimad Bhagavatam. So, I mean, Madhavendra Puri's mentioned in this section, how Madhavendra Puri was, he was the heart of, he was the first one in our disciplic succession who actually practiced spontaneous devotional service. You know, before that, that's not exactly true. It was regulated devotional service, rules and regulations. You know, following the rules and regulations very strictly. So that's Vaidhi. I'm not saying that they didn't come to the platform of Raga Bhakti. Obviously, we had great acharyas before that. But Madhavacharya was the first one who started to, you know, really practice spontaneous devotional service. And, you know, Ishvara Puri, he could understand that. But was it Ramachandra? Ramachandra, another disciple of Madhavendra Puri, he couldn't understand. He just, you know, his understanding was very meagre, and he criticized Madhavendra Puri when he was pouring his heart out at the end of his life in a devotional mood. And the devotional mood is that I'm actually useless. A devotee feels completely useless comparing himself with other devotees and Krishna. It's just the natural symptoms of an advanced devotee. And he was lamenting that he, you know, so many things. And Ramachandra, he criticized, he said, what are you doing? He said, you're supposed to be on the platform of ecstasy now, free from the modes of nature. And Madhavendra Puri told him to, you know, go away. But Ishvara Puri, he served him very nice, he could understand. And so Ishvara Puri got all the blessings. So, you know, the point is that knowledge is the real key to actually making progress in devotional service. And at some point that knowledge comes to real fruition at the point of what is real knowledge? What is real knowledge? To know our relationship with Krishna and act on that relationship. Prema Pamartha Mahan. But once we come to the platform of prema, we don't really need knowledge. At the end of knowledge is we have affection for Krishna. And so Madhavendra Puri, he actually came to that platform. Anyway, the Kindle's gone now, so I don't know what I was. So anyway, it's 5 to 9. What time? You go on till at 9. You finish. No limit. Okay. So maybe you can have some questions. See if there's any limit to the question.
We can encourage more and more books in this month. We have started one from 15th November.
Well, I got it wrong actually. The end of all knowledge is to distribute books. Because then we give everybody else a chance to get prema. So yeah, it's the most important process. Why did Prabhupada say, distribute books, distribute books, distribute books? Shivaram Swami he asked him a question. And Shivaram Swami was a book distributor. And he said, Prabhupada, which service pleases you the most? And Prabhupada says, what did he say? No. He said, if you love Krishna. And so then Shivaram Maharaj says, yeah, but Prabhupada, which service really pleases you the most? Because Prabhupada has said so many times, to distribute books, this is a priority, and Prabhupada says, if you love Krishna. So that's what we're after. That's what pleases the spiritual master the most. If he's actually managed to get a disciple to the platform of prema. But Prabhupada's practical. And so he wanted books distributing. It pleased him the most also because then everybody else could come to that platform. So yeah, if Prabhupada actually said that if we distribute books, then there'll be no shortage of anything. He says this will maintain the temple. We learn to distribute books. We don't have to think about other things. I mean, look at this temple. This is, where's all this come from? Because there's a lot of book distribution. We please Krishna. I know it comes by other means as well, but it's a process of following the instructions of the spiritual master which pleases Krishna, and we get all blessings. So this is what, book distribution. The marathon's coming, and when do you start? Beginning of December. You're having a long marathon. 5th. 15. So you're doing till the end of December. 2 months. Have you done that every year? Okay. That's why there's big scores, right? You have to, anyway. We do 3 weeks. We used to do more actually. Sometimes till the end of December. We do up to Christmas and then, but it's an intense one. We do every day. And book distribution, during the marathon it doubles and trebles. It's same here. Just unbelievable. When we're actually really intense about something, we get a result. Intensity. What's that verse? Tivrena bhakti yogena. Intensity. Like a tivrena means a ray of light. Like a laser. It's so condensed that it can cut through metal. So when we're intense and together, we can do so much. It's called synergy. Is that the right word? What does synergy mean? 2 + 2 = 8, right? Synergy means that, like rice and dal, when you put them together, you get more out of it than just, adding up the potency of both. So when we actually work together, we see in the marathon that so much is achieved by devotees when they really cooperate together. And so 2-month marathon is good because it's actually a lifetime's marathon, really. Devotional service is a lifetime's marathon. But this is a special time. This is a time when we really get a taste. So is everybody going out? What's the main process of book distribution? Is it one-to-one, or is it book table, or door-to-door? Is it business of it? So in England we've just started to do book tables more, and Harinam as well. I find that if there's a Harinam there, then people become much more receptive, because it's not like in India. You can see the difference when you come to India. Everybody is actually somewhat interested in Krishna consciousness. Like we passed one place on the way here, it said Dowji Autos. You wouldn't get that in England, Dowji. And then one devotee says, that's nothing. He said, in South India, they've got one place called Balaji Wines. But at least, there's some Krishna consciousness there. So you have a big advantage. But, by the combination of Harinama Sankirtan and book distribution, it's definitely very effective. So, anything else before we finish?
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Maharaj. Maharaj, just a personal question from your side. What is your secret of success for being continuing in Krishna consciousness for so long? What is your secret of success for continuing so long in Krishna consciousness?
Chanting Hare Krishna. Yeah, the barometer of our spiritual life is the chanting. If we have focused chanting, then everything else will fall into place. And this is our work. This is the hardest thing to do, to listen to the holy name, to focus on the holy name. And Prabhupada gave us 16 rounds. If we focus for 16 rounds, we'll be impervious. If you listen to the mantra attentively for 16 rounds, Maya won't come in. If we're there, it's always there. But we learn to avoid it. If we don't chant attentive rounds, we'll be attracted. Whatever comes in, I'm talking about on the internet. You get things popping up. And but if we're actually Krishna conscious, it's like Well, there's two things, weakness, and weakness comes from insufficient chanting or low quality chanting, insufficient sadhana, and offences. And so, but you know, if we chant 16 rounds nicely, we won't commit so many offences. Obviously, we're neophytes, so it's going to be there, but nothing really serious. So the key is chanting again. If we chant nicely, then we won't have any problems with offences hardly. Because the mind becomes purified. Offences come from the mind, from the misconception of the situation. I, me and mine in the centre, and when we put ourselves in the centre, we become offended. If we don't put ourselves in the centre, we won't become offended. We'll see everything centred around Krishna. This devotee is serving Krishna so nicely. Krishna's in the centre, I'm happy. But if we're in the centre, we'll become envious. And then there'll be, some maybe offences as a result. From this envy, all the other bad qualities come. Well, it's not. From lust, actually. Our material lust, our attachment to this world is causing all the offences. Envy comes, anger, greed, illusion, like that. So, by hearing Srinvatam Svakata Krishna, this verse explains that if we hear Bhagavatam properly, with a rapt attention, with all seriousness, then in the purport, Prabhupada says we'll be purified from all material contamination. He says even the attraction between male and female is the most attractive thing in this world. He says we'll become peaceful. That won't even attract us, just by hearing Bhagavatam. So, Prabhupada's given us everything. He's given us the holy name, he's given us Bhagavatam, the deities, the temple, like that. And if we just carry on utilising these things and we don't start cutting things out, then there's no problems. Prabhupada says if we chant 16 rounds and stick tight to Krishna's lotus feet, Maya cannot harm us. He says, you follow my instructions. Once Prabhupada was talking to one devotee, he says, I can kick out Maya with one boot. One kick of my boot and Maya is out. So we all take shelter of Prabhupada's boot, right? Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Yantaraj Sri Chaitanya Chaitamrita ki jai. Gaura Premanandi.
Hari Hari.
Maharaj ki jai. So on behalf of ISKCON Dwarka, we'd like to thank Maharaj for such nectarian class by loudly chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. By your blessings, Maharaj, we may practice some bhakti. By your blessings, we may practice some bhakti, Maharaj. Thank you.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
हरे कृष्णा। प्रसादम की व्यवस्था हमारा पुराना जो गोविंदा रेस्टोरेंट है वहाँ पर है, तो वहाँ पर जाके आप लोग प्रसाद ले सकते हैं। थैंक यू सो मच। हरे कृष्णा।